In your YouTube, you mentioned you had an interesting journey in terms of the trajectory you've taken in your career, so engineering-wise, and now you're on the security side. So it might be quite instructive to say why. Can you explain a bit more about that journey in terms of how you ended up going from the more practical side? I guess it's still practical, but it's more at a high level.
Anyone who gets admitted to a place like this was the best of their school. So I don't say this to brag, and I don't want to hypercritically have false modesty. I was one of the best of my university when I was an undergraduate, and so my professors would say, you should consider becoming a professor yourself and teaching, and I was doing engineering. And I went into engineering because I like to build things. I like to do practical stuff. And so I felt it was fake for me to become a professor teaching people how to be engineers if I had never built stuff myself. So if I get the best grades in my university degree, and then I become, after some career advancement, professor of engineering, then I feel that's a fake professor of engineering. How can this guy teach people to do stuff if he's never done it himself? And so I didn't want that. So I went in and I got a job building things. I was an engineer doing things, very happy. It was one of the best jobs I had. And I was in an industrial research environment. And although I enjoyed it greatly, about half the people in the lab had PhDs. And I thought a PhD is a total waste of time. It's for people who just like, writing garbage on the whiteboard and not doing anything practical. I mean, I'm not one of these time wasters. I want to do stuff. I want to build stuff that people will use. So PhD, not for me. Okay. And then spending several years sitting on a desk next to someone else who had a PhD, I realized they were not always the time wasters I thought they would be. Some of them were actually clever. And I also realized that if I stayed in that position, I would always be the slave of someone with a PhD. And they would lead the project, and I would be doing the things that they wanted me to do because they needed some minion to write the code. So I realized that after a few years. And when this dawned on me, I said, well, what's the problem? I go back to university, I get myself a PhD. Then I come back and I can be a project leader. So I went back to university as a mature student for a PhD with the purpose of then going back into industrial research and breaking this glass ceiling that I saw above me because I didn't have a PhD. But it so happens that before I finished my PhD, I was offered a lectureship in Cambridge. And by then I had had a few years of actual experience building things. So I said, maybe now is the right time that I go into that other career, which I thought maybe one day I would do. But maybe now's the time. And that's how it happened for me. But I still maintain a rather strong connection with practical things. And I consult for industry. I have my own company and so on and so on. So I'm still not, and I will never be, an ivory tower, whiteboard person. I will always do in my research things that affect problems that exist in the real world that industry has, that people pay money to solve it, stuff like that. It's not for everyone. I mean, and nothing to say that being completely theoretical person is bad. It's just not what I feel like doing myself. If someone is minded just to prove theorems and stuff, good luck to them. There's paths for doing that in the computer science tripos as well.